Okay, let's start with, I know we put some of these things in the news, and I kind of gave a little bit of a glimpse on the Telegram chat, but let's talk about computer systems. Some people came back to me and they said, well, oh, the deep web's not down, right? I'm like, yeah, it is. And they're like, no, it's not. We still have onion. So I'm going to go through the layers of the web, which also affects everything from your telecommunications, okay, to your internet, to your banking, to everything, okay? All interconnected here. All right, so let's start there. All right, so we've got ground zero here. This is not level 0 assembly processing. This is you. You are here right now. If you're watching this call, you are here. Okay, your phone is here. Your internet is here. When you hit anything, internet, sorry. Your internet is here. Your television set is here. Your everything is here. Okay. Now, that being said, that's lovely because you're putting in www or HTTPS or whatever it is if it's secured, and you land here and only here. Okay. This is surface level. Okay. So you could also call this level 1 too as well. Okay. Now, then you've got one layer down from that, and it's sometimes referred to as the Berge level. Okay. On this level, you have proxy servers. You have, let's see, FTP servers, for people who know that what that is. But this is mainly for the tech guys that wanted to know. Some web servers. Okay, so this would be the next level down. Say, let's call it level 2. All right, now I'm going to probably go back up. Well, I got room. Okay, so level 3. This is what most of you watching would call the deep web, okay? And all this really is here is, I would say, a different browser system. So whether you're on Safari, you're on Google, you're on, what are the other ones? Bing, DuckDuckGo, all those places, right? You're still here. Okay, you're still in this world. Now, these are just basically, I would call it different ways of identifying a site you're going to. This would be like where your onion browsers are, and a few other things. Access to things like for hackers. Okay, now remember, the further we go down the food chain, all these people have access to this and can alter this at any time, including your bank and everything else, or could have in the past. Okay, so you've got hackers in here, forged documents, banned books and videos, financial records, censorship, private corporate databases, scientific experiments, things that you think you're getting into that are like, wow, this is the porn site or something like that, but it's really not. This is the level that you could potentially get a Tor to access, right? Okay, how far down on me? Okay, all right. Now, let's start talking about, okay, level 4. Okay, and then I'll start over again here. Level 4. This is sometimes called the charter web. Okay, so this would contain things like, and I'm going to list them somewhere else, I guess, HARP. What else would be here? I don't know if you've ever heard of Project Atlantis. That would probably be here as well. Hidden Research is in there. Murderers, terror, assassination contracts, drug networks, and all of those things. Human trafficking networks, supercomputers like your Watsons, your AIs, and all of these things. Watson is now down completely. All of your analysis on everything you do up here, would be there. Access and backdoors into banks, financial records, all that kind of stuff can be from down here or here in some cases. Okay. Now, let's talk about why they call things that. All right. Okay, so that's level 4. Now, the next one, level 5. Okay. So on Cobra's website, a lot of times you see him saying that there's a security breach at 504 or something, right? Now you know what that means, okay? Level 5. Level 5, they call the Marianne, I'm going to probably spell this wrong because I can't spell today, trench. Now, this is the deepest area of your web, right? Let's call it the web, although it's many other things as well, right? Okay. This is where your Illuminati live. Your, let's see. I'm just going to spell this out. Okay. And all of the other things that nobody ever talks about on the alt media that exist. This has access to all of those other levels and above, right? It is the control center, sort of, kind of. But this here is where Arpanet lived. So basically from level 5 on up, other than your 1 and 2, right? Which obviously are necessary. You got to have web servers to have a web, right? And some parts of 3 are now not in existence anymore. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to break it down for some of the techie guys that called me going, no way, no way, no way. Also, in not this particular area, but in a different area, this is where the Volpe system, I mentioned that too, that the Volpe system had gone down, right? Now, this was in Massachusetts in the United States, okay? It was controlled and run by the Department of Transportation. Remember I told you if you're driving down the freeway and you have more than $3,000 in cash, they can decide to pull you over. Or you ever you get stuck on the side of the road. It doesn't matter if you're in the US or you're in wherever, and all of a sudden a police officer just shows up, right? I wonder how that happened. Boy, you're thanking God, right? You're like, wow. I mean, I didn't think anybody was going to drive down this road for like a year, and I thought I was going to be left here to die, right? But no, the system monitors all that, monitors all your traffic lights and all of those types of things. But here's the weird part. What the heck was this doing in the banking system? Why was the Department of Transportation having access and backdoor access to our banking system? And how does that relate to the safety and security of our freeways? This system is what led us to find Arpanet. So, and those that had access to it, which are the very few and far between. Secret Space Program would have access, very high level Space Force military, those types of people would be the only people that actually knew that that existed. So let's go back to last week I'll expand a little bit on what happened on what we were talking about on the news the other day. Okay, so now we know who lives in Arpanet and who controls Arpanet, okay? Or did. All right. So the Space Force in the Order of the Black Sun had a great idea last week. And they said, well, hey, let's connect Arpanet to Norfolk. Okay. So here's how we're going to get the money, kids. What we're going to do is we're going to sanction all the Russian oligarchs. But first, we're going to make a deal with them, and we're going to promise them the moon, stars, and the sun will now revolve around them in particular, not the country, just them, in exchange for the sanctions happening and then the money being siphoned into Norfolk. Okay. Why are gas prices going ridiculously high? Why are all these things happening? Okay. What they wanted to use Arpanet for was the design of a new world trading system for all commodities that would be based solely in Arpanet. So while they may let you linger in 0 and 1 and Dow Joneses and market crashes and EBS systems and blah, 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 they'd be here taking control of the entire world's commodity supply chain. They were going to use the money from the oligarchs to issue the bonds to get the platform started, right? We talked about $900 billion in bonds. They had much bigger ideas after that, right? Price of wheat has risen ridiculously for no reason whatsoever, claiming sanctions on Russia are the reason. No, not the case, okay? You can tell fantasies to other people, but that connection was severed last week. So, or this past week, still Sunday, right? I can't remember anymore. Okay, so that happened this past week. So the connection to Arpanet was removed, and then Arpanet itself was completely dissolved because it was a global situation. You know, the basement of your central bank has one of these Arpanet connections, right? There's a lot of things down there, and every central bank everywhere in the world, it's like a whole separate bank inside your bank, really. Anyway, so that's Arpanet. So that failed this week, which left a lot of people very angry because they were all promised very large amounts of things. Now, since that didn't happen this week, President Zelensky of Ukraine talked to Congress yesterday, right? You'll find out on the news what came of that. But he's kind of been on one of those, you remember the old telethons they used to do when we were kids? I don't know how old you are if you remember, but Jerry Lewis would get up there and just talk for 24 hours straight. The bands would be playing, the cymbals be clanging, and there was always some act for a couple of days over a long weekend of some sort. Well, that's what he does. So he has been calling everyone, donate to Ukraine, donate to Ukraine, donate to Ukraine. And meanwhile, he's got millions of dollars in his bank account, right? That's even in Forbes magazine. It's in our news, but it's also in Forbes magazine. It's all over the place how much money these guys have. And the oligarchs of the Ukraine are the same ones that are best friends with the ones in Russia. Let's not lie here. Millions and millions of dollars these people are raking in over there. And they can't even get citizens to safety. Because why? Because if they don't keep the war going, no one's gonna donate. He's gotten planes and MiGs and jets and whatever else. I mean, my God, the place is going to be like the new Alibaba of the planet Earth, of the underworld. You just fed the Russian mafia a ton of weapons. Really? And then members of Congress are calling, asking, well, you know, Ukraine is really in big trouble and Putin's doing this. And I'm like, no. That's not what's happening here. They had a deal, okay, to start the war. There was a deal. Make no mistake. When the money didn't come a few weeks back from the TransUnion system and then from the other tribe with the guy in London, and we talked about that, you know, and this is the latest and greatest scam, right? It's also the reason why they stole all that money from the trucker convoy. It's also the reason why we tried not to have a trucker convoy in the United States. Not that we're all for releasing these ridiculous mandates, but it's just the money is all going to the militaries. It is not going to the people. And it's certainly not helping the truckers. Sad to say, but it's not. Okay. Russia, for its part, okay, is involved. The Kremlin is involved to an extent. That is the clans, that is the oligarchs. Make no mistake, these are the ex-KGB guys that sold off everything in the 1990s that wasn't nailed down. Is Russia attacking Ukraine? Not so much. Deals have been made between the Russian military and the Ukrainian military to protect the citizens of both places, at least the best that they can. That doesn't mean the Zelensky henchmen and the oligarch henchmen are not trying to kill as many people as possible, right? What's going to happen from here on out? Well, as explained in the news that you saw probably this morning, they took to the skies, right? There's rumors going around of a Russian jet taking off from St. Petersburg, a government jet. I think it's Rosnaya is the airline. It's like a private jet company that runs all the private jets for the government of Russia. Took off from St. Petersburg and headed towards the United States yesterday on Saturday. Well, they all flew around in the sky and had super secret meetings about what's next. What are you going to do, right? So here's the interesting part. They have now decided they're going to, who made money? Because where's the money? There has to be money somewhere, anywhere but Kim, right? Has to be money. Even though the other day I proved to the Pentagon that number one, I knew what was going on in certain places. Number two, I transferred $1, again, to the Pentagon, just to prove that I could. It did make people question for about, I don't know, a couple days, wanted to set up meetings and appointments, and then all of a sudden, deep state squirrel, and everybody ran. Because where do they run to? Now, this is actually spectacular for us. They have decided that the only ones that made money during the pandemic that probably still have money are the pharmaceutical companies. Far be it from me to discourage them from sanctioning the pharmaceutical companies. I'm just going to watch this. So let me kind of back up for a second. So as the Russian oligarchs' money was being siphoned into Norfolk to start this new system, right? You're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. The total amount was about $1.8 trillion. These guys had money. These are your gas guys, your oil guys, your, big heavy hitters, right? Russia, they control all the commodities, diamonds, and whatnot. All right, so black market in some cases for some of the clans. But anyway, the point is that, all right, so I watched all that money go into Norfolk. And I just sat there and I waited and waited while they collected it all. And then, boop, disappeared. Then Arpanet disappeared. Then the rest of the system disappeared. So far be it from me to stop the deep state from collecting money from the deep state. So if you know anything about the pharmaceutical companies, all the major ones in the world are controlled by the CIA or its Chinese affiliate. That's a fact. 80% of the world's pharmaceuticals are manufactured in China. All right, so that's kind of where they're at. So now they're going to start attacking the pharmaceutical companies. So us being us, I thought I'd tell them about 3M. They made a lot of money, right? 3M takes 10% of all of the factories' manufactured goods that it certifies. 3M actually doesn't produce anything. That's who they are. So I thought, they made money too, because, the personal protection equipment, masks, all that stuff, that's all 3M certified products. You should go for them too. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, who else probably has money? Oh, BP and Shell. You could sanction them for genocide in nearly every African country, for crying out loud, right? So you should sanction them too. They have money. Have you seen the price of gas? They've got money. You should go after them too. So I just trying to help out our deep state friends as they circulate money and collect money and sanction people. And, who knows? Maybe they'll get to keep it and maybe they won't. We'll see what they do, right? So that's what our deep state friends have been up to. So that explains the deep web situation. Let me see if there's anything in here that we can do. All right, the colonies have been very busy here, doing a lot of elimination of people, especially on the Coven level now. We're now on to the Coven level of people that are being eliminated due to some issues. Apparently, one of the Covens had taken up shop in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago. They did also try to fire up 5G somewhere around the 17th of February, which was causing people a lot of disturbances, a lot of headaches, a lot of upset stomachs, a lot of angry people. So it would have been right around the 17th, 16th, 17th, which I think is another full moon time, if I remember correctly. They always do things on the full moon and the new moon, right? Okay, let's see what else we had here. Okay, energy load levelers. A lot of the stuff has to do with clearing out the banking system. Ergonomic relativity of energetic solutions. That were fixing things. We were sending out frequencies to counterbalance some of these other things that were going on at that time. The CIA did hack into the back door of those systems to have access to the 5G that they lost access to. This was long before we found out about the Arpanet situation. So wish to say we were God and that we could find everything all in one day, but I also think a lot of this is in sources timing. If we had pulled the trigger one day earlier, if we had known one day earlier, this might have, tipped our friends off and they would have stopped what they were doing. So a lot of the guidance and the timing and the notifications that we get are also exactly the day it needs to happen, not a minute before and not a minute after. And we've come to trust that in our lives, right? Okay. Yep. A lot of this just really has to do with computer system stuff. We had some issues with the Jesuits and a system remnants of something that they had. We had some issues with the Middle Eastern Green Crown and stuff like that. You notice Iran, you don't hear about that right now in the news, do you? Very little. I think it might have popped up again recently once. Coming through. The trucker convoy in the United States has all been overshadowed in the news by Ukraine, Russia. So you can probably expect, if they're going to continue on with this plan of taking money from their own selves, you can probably expect to see a lot of companies see, their theory on it is that if they go ahead and go after the pharmaceutical companies, everybody hates those things, right? Everybody hates those. And so the majority of people wouldn't have gotten them if it didn't meant their job or their livelihood, the ones that actually did. So they figure if they go after the pharmaceutical companies, then they can then be shown as the hero in the white hats of the world, right? Well, stealing all their money because they can't keep a war. No war, no money, no war, no money, no war, no money, right? No money, no war, no money, no war, no money, no war. So they go hand in hand, glove in glove. Nobody does anything unless it's for money. And I guess in some cases, women, right? If you're talking about a bar fight, that's what starts most wars. So that being said, stay safe. Look back at people that are finding out their truths. Even the deep state is finding out their truths, right? And just remember, focus on what we can do, not what they're doing. The second you give 1 minute of reading or watching a 2-hour-long person discuss this leader or that former president or this person or whatever it is, number one, that's an hour or two out of your time, and maybe you're doing something else while you're doing it. But a lot of that is negative. It's not positive. We're hunting down this, we're hunting down that. What was the latest and greatest is that Putin is taking out the bad guys. I'm like, number one, Putin's dead, okay? The Trump narrative is fading for the Order of the Black Sun. That's a fact. There are some people that still believe in him. They still want him to come back and everything, and I understand that. However, it's fading. The support is waning. So now they thought, well, it's 2014 and Putin's so popular, we're going to do the savior of the world thing with the Russian guy now. So probably not so much. Anyway, they're trying to make him the one that's the white hat behind the scenes, taking out the biolabs in Ukraine. Russia's biolabs really aren't in Ukraine. I mean, come on, people. They are a weapons manufacturer. They were the weapons manufacturer for all of the USSR, most of it anyway. Kalashnikovs, everything, all manufactured out of there. Why does this guy need planes again? Specifically MiGs. MiGs are the plane of choice of the Russians. They're manufactured in Russia. Why would you want to have Russian aircraft? If you were going to start World War III and you needed to make a boogeyman, you would have to have their equipment, wouldn't you? It's not that it was superior. It's not that it was better. Make with the claim that, oh, look, this guy, we only know how to fly MiGs. I'm so sorry. Really? I mean, does anybody buy that? You know, and did Congress buy it? The answer to the question is yes. So please, guys, assemble. Please. Please, so we don't have to listen to these crazy people anymore. Please. You know, they're going to try to blow us all up. I get that. I mean, this is so simple. Have you ever seen the movie American Made? If you haven't, watch it. It's an entertaining movie. It's got Tom Cruise in it and whatnot. But in that movie, they even told you that they had the ICA Airlines, or whatever they were calling it, right? Which is CIA Air, right? Private air, giving Kalashnikovs to the rebels, I think it was in Panama. I think it was Noriega, right? During the Noriega situation. Okay, I understand. But it's Kalashnikovs at that time, you know, during the Cold War, all that was going on. Here we go again. It's Russia, Russia, Russia. And then, you know, now they're going to blame Russia for arming the rebels in Panama, right? And here we go again, except this time the rebels are called Russian separatists, and then the Ukrainians only want Russian equipment. Wow, isn't that cool? That's amazing. Here we go again. It's in the movies. They don't have any new ideas. They're doing the same operations over and over and over again. It's just not working. We all see you. We all see you. We see what you're doing. Zelensky, you know, as you saw in the news the other day, and I cannot unsee that. That was horrible. They want, you know, in stilettos and the like kind of S&M looking outfit thingy he was wearing, dancing around. That's very scary. I still have, you know, every time I mention it, like it hurts a little bit, you know, no one wants to see that ever. Anyway, the point is that this is what's really going on. Okay. Unfortunately, there are many soldiers dying, right, over there for this. In addition to that, there are civilians that are very scared in a very untenuous situation, as Russia's trying to blame the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are trying to blame the Russians. And here we go in this tit for tat on the border. So Putin was right last week, or whatever that is. They were right, because it's always the clans that have run Putin anyway. They were right last week when they said, okay, the Russian military and the Ukrainian military need to look at the drastic effects of what would happen if there were to be another Chernobyl incident. What would happen to the entire hemisphere? How would that affect our families, our wives, our kids, right? And they made a decision on their own. Good for you. Putin said last week, as I was about to say, that he would rather negotiate with the Ukrainian military than with its political leaders, and that they were all on drugs and they were neo-Nazis. He's right. They are. You know, Zelensky's got a known coke problem. That's a fact, right? They're all part of the same organization. Need I say more? But breathe, relax. You're going back to you. Okay? Think bigger. Think differently. The devil's in the details. That's how they got us here where we are right now. And it's most important we take care of each other and the next generation and the next generation, because we're setting the bar. And that is where we're really going. So that being said, I won't take up any more of your time on a Sunday, but I do appreciate you coming and at least hearing us out. I hope you have a clearer view of where we're going and why we're going there and why things have changed this week, and try not to look at the small picture and look at the big picture of what's really going on out there. Okay. So breathe, have a fantastic week this week. And I hopefully will see you as soon as I possibly can. Like I said, been a little bit busy over here. So you guys take care. We have one more little video to play for you. I think